everyone? Welcome to today's episode of Newsflash. We got a great one for you. On the show, we're giving you the latest about the impeachment inquiry and the White House's response. We'll go in depth on what you need to know about that. Also, taking a look at what's going on in the landmark Supreme Court case for LGBTQ rights and possibly giving homophobic businesses the right to fire people if they find out that they're gay. The employees, that is. Also, President Donald Trump, the reaction inside the White House to his phone call, a new report from the New York Times. Take a look at Medicare for all, the pot against it, America screwing the Kurds, and a little talk about class solidarity. Yeah, what that means in today's day and age. Should be a very, very interesting conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, apologize for being a little late with this one, but you'll be all right. Yeah, so let's get everything set up and get ready to go, because we are starting at the top today with a very interesting, of course, little look on impeachment. The article out in the New York Times today about it, very interesting. As the White House, quote-unquote, pretty much declared war on the House impeachment inquiry on Tuesday, announcing that it would not cooperate with what it called an illegitimate effort to overturn the results of the 2016 election, which is pretty much saying that we're going to stonewall this thing at every single possible turn. We're going to challenge and deflect, which, again, it's the right strategy. It's not really – it's the right strategy for President Trump. It's what he should really be doing if his allies want him to succeed. Like, he's got to do some sort of a strategy against this, right? Because he can't it wouldn't look good for him if he cooperated, because there's probably some stuff that he doesn't want people to find out, and they're going to find it out. So that fact that he has decided not to cooperate is probably the best strategy for him going forward, probably the safest strategy. But again, it completely makes a mockery of the quote-unquote the way things are supposed to be done. Pretty much the biggest theme of this entire presidency has been the way things aren't supposed to. Trump is taking the quote-unquote rule book of the way American politics and American government is supposed to be conducted and throwing out the window. That's probably the biggest thing from his presidency, probably the biggest political change from his presidency. Like, the fact that all norms now are out the window and they are useless. Like, people still stick to them sometimes. Some politicians still stick to them. I don't know why. When you have Trump doing things like that, like, it's just not necessary. You don't have to do it. He's proven you don't have to do it. And this is another example of that. This is just another instance of Trump saying, you know what? All those rules, all those things that I'm supposed to be giving, all these subpoenas I'm supposed to be submitting, not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen because I can. Because I don't need to submit this. I really don't. Yeah. So the letter. This is Pat Cipollone, the White House counsel, the new White House counsel. Your unprecedented actions have left the president with no choice, is what he says, in order to fulfill the duties to the American people, the Constitution, the executive branch, and all future occupants of the office of the presidency. President Trump and his administration cannot participate in your partisan and unconstitutional inquiry under these circumstances. And the word of the day today, I don't know if you've noticed, you've been following the news at all, it's kangaroo court. So the president risks ensuring that really the House Democrats are going to just give him another article of impeachment, obstruction of justice. Like, this is probably going to be the biggest, I think it was President Nixon's, it was in President Clinton's articles of impeachment that were drawn up, or going to be drawn up, because they're definitely at least going to get Nixon for obstruction of justice. They did get Bill Clinton for obstruction of justice. There's no way the House is not going to add that to whatever list they're drawing up for articles of impeachment. I mean, it's kind of like a cutting off your nose to spite your face. Like, you're just hurting yourself by not really cooperating. But in fact, like, especially when there is it's really weird, because of course it makes sense to cooperate, right? Like, and if you do want to cooperate, what I don't get is, why not just send everything? If you're so free, if your phone call was perfect, there's nothing to hide on the subject, like, why not just let everyone see everything? Oh wait, maybe because it wasn't. Maybe that's the idea. Yeah, so Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, says the White House should be warned that continued efforts to hide the truth of the president's abuse of power from the American people were regarded as further evidence of obstruction. Mr. President, you're not above the law. We will be you will be held accountable. The letter came shortly after the White House blocked an interview of a key witness, Gordon D. Sondland, the United States ambassador to the European Union, just hours before he was set to appear on Capitol Hill. A senior administration official said no other witnesses or documents would be provided, putting a full halt to cooperation. The president's decision to resist across the board is itself potentially a precedent-setting move that could have far-reaching implications for the inquiry. Democrats believe it bolsters their list of impeachable offenses, adding stonewalling of Congress to the tally, but could deprive them of crucial witnesses and evidence they need to lodge credible charges against the president. So there is the two-faceted explanation to it, because it pretty much just gives them a layup slam dunk charge if they continue to, they could probably, if he keeps this up for another week or so, they could just roll out a scroll that could stretch across the entire House of all the time, all the documents, all the requests that he's denied them if this keeps up, and that would be perfect evidence to add to another article of impeachment. I mean, there's stuff that, again, he's already admitted, he's already released transcripts of him doing, and it's just such a major, it's really kind of a lose-lose situation if you think about it, because if he cooperates, a lot of stuff, bad stuff gets leaked out. If he doesn't cooperate, the stuff stays in, but he gets hit with another article. It's kind of a political calculation, really, that they have to make, and neither one of these instances comes through really looking good for President Trump, whichever way you slice it. So that is the main thing to do here. No, they're not in an unenviable situation. I think that comes with a certain, it's just kind of the way the cookie crumbles when you're in an impeachment inquiry. Nothing's ever gonna really look good. Nothing's ever gonna really look above board. You're facing an impeachment inquiry here. It's just kind of just the way it's gonna have to work. So yeah, it's kind of part of it. But in days of confusion, it came out really after days of confusion, uncertainty, and debate inside the White House and among President Trump's allies about a strategy as the investigators dig into his efforts to pressure Ukraine and provide damaging information about his domestic rivals. Only last week, the president publicly vowed to participate in the inquiry, saying that I always cooperate and that we will work together with Democrats, even though he considered allegations against him to be meritless. So, they're really kind of, maybe something got to him. He's a very fickle person. He can change his mind a lot of different ways, a lot of different times, depending on who talks to him last. Just the way he operates. We've always known this, so really no surprise here. And sooner or later, if the threat of another obstruction of justice charge and an impeachment tally gets big enough, he could perfectly change his mind, complete 180. So that's just life under the Trump administration. So he reversed himself after investigations were given text messages that called into question his assertion that there was no quid pro quo when he pressed Ukraine's president to investigate Democrats while dangling a White House invitation and withholding American security assistance. So, also, the thing is, a decision to block Sondland's testimony frustrated some House Republicans as well. A group of them visited the president earlier Tuesday and explained why they hoped to hear from Sondland, a person briefed on the meeting, because, in part, he had already denied any quid pro quo. As he braced for a full-fledged battle, he had lunch with Trey Gowdy, a former South Carolina congressman, who has been in talks with joining the president's legal team. He resigned because he's just, I don't know why, but maybe he thought he didn't want to be in the minority again. And then an administration official said, Gowdy, who led the House inquiry into the American deaths in Benghazi, he's the Benghazi queen in Libya while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, agreed to represent Trump, but two others involved in the matter said it was not a done deal. Republicans made clear they would not simply rest on the defense, but would mount a counteroffensive on Trump's behalf. Graham said he would invite Giuliani, the president's personal lawyer who was deeply involved in the president's campaign on Ukraine, to testify before his panel on the judiciary. So Senator Dianne Feinstein, Graham's Democratic counterpart of the committee, said she looked forward to questioning Rudy Giuliani under oath about his role in seeking the Ukrainian government's assistance to investigate one of the president's political rivals. So yeah, that should be something that he's probably able to. Even Dianne Feinstein, not the sharpest tool in the shed, she should probably be able to handle that pretty easily, because Rudy Giuliani, like, you could probably get him to talk about 60 different ways. So it's very, very possible that she or any, I don't know who else is on the committee on the Democratic side, but they could probably get a good bit of fun, a good bit of a political hay out of that. So, yeah, that is a very fun, very, very fun idea of Rudy Giuliani in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. So the White House letter to Pelosi, like, it's like he expects them to be scared, like, no, not Rudy Giuliani, not him. Yeah, so the White House letter to Pelosi and other Democrats was a part constitutional argument, part political statement. Over 8 pages, Cipollone listed various ways House Democrats have diverged from the president's set during impeachment inquiries. Among other things, both these inquiries were authorized by a full vote of the House, while Pelosi has opted against holding such a vote that might expose some of her more endangered members, and instead simply declared her own way, or her own fiat that an impeachment inquiry, by her own fiat that an impeachment inquiry was underway. And again, it's not like that really matters, because they're still going to hammer him in the ads, they're still going to hammer him politically, even because people like Max Rose, they've already come out, they've supported it, and people in swing districts, whatever the case may be, like, they've already come out and supported it. They've already come out and said, I support impeachment. Like, a lot of those swing Democrats, the quote-unquote badasses, as they like to call themselves, they've come out and they've said it. Like, there's no, like, you don't really have to have a vote on it for it to be on the record. Like, it's kind of stupid. But as a result, Cipollone noted the minority Republicans did not have a subpoena power to call their own witnesses. I mean, I don't think you can do that. But again, why should they be able? It's like the one smart political move that Nancy Pelosi's literally ever done, and the Republicans would do the same thing. So it's not like something I have a problem with. He also noted the president's lawyers were not allowed to participate in the questioning of witnesses, which so far has been taking place behind closed doors rather than in open session. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a waste of time if you're coming at it from this idea. But so far, they've gotten documents from the White House, Rudy Giuliani. This is from the perspective of the House Democrats here. They've got a briefing from Michael Atkinson, the Intelligence Committee Inspector General. They've got testimony documents from Kurt Volker, the former U.S. Special Envoy to Ukraine. He testified before congressional investigators and provided text messages revealing that Trump's envoys made clear to the Ukrainian president that he would need to agree to Trump's request for investigations before visiting the Oval Office. It's like, you ain't coming to my place before you serve me a little bit. That's pretty much what he has proved there with these text messages. Stephen A. Linick, the State Department's independent watchdog, provided senior congressional staff members with packets of documents that said rumors flying on Capitol Hill but not appear to include any explosive revelations. Joe McGuire, the acting director of national intelligence, shared the whistleblower's complaint with Congress weeks after he was mandated to provide it. In testimony the next day, he defended the whistleblower's actions as well as his own handling of the case. And so what they want now is evidence that's been requested is documents from the White House, documents from Mike Pompeo, documents from Rudy, documents from Vice President Mike Pence, Defense Secretary Mark Esper, and of course the whistleblower should be interviewed in a way that protects his anonymity, so he is a CIA officer. As the New York Times has reported it, they try to get testimony from Gordon Sunderland and a bunch of other Russian people that I don't even really care about. All right, we're going to move on now to our other side of government here, the Supreme Court. How about that? Yeah, so the big deal right now is the Supreme Court heard arguments saying a set of potentially landmark LGBTQ rights cases. So the cases, broadly speaking, center on whether or not a provision of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which protects people based on discrimination on the basis of sex, also extends to sexual